Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Think Future. My name's Calabucas, and once again, we're coming at you live from deep in the heart of Silicon Valley, California. We're talking innovation startups, the future, not necessarily those, and not necessarily in that order. If you're watching on YouTube, smack that subscribe button and hit the bell so you'll get notified when a new show comes up 6 times a week. That's right, folks, 6 times a week. And if you're listening on a podcast service, please hit that subscribe button. Leave us a note on Apple Podcasts. Tell everyone how awesome you think the show is. If you don't think the show is awesome, just let me know. So today we're going to talk a little bit about the future. And I like to think that you can sort of not predict, but get a good indication of where things are going. Because I'm a futurist, and there's many, many tools in the futurist tool belt that you can use to determine kind of what may or may not happen. And it's less of a prediction, but more of a recommendation, is that here's what we think the direction things are going to go in. And sometimes it's based on really, really obvious things that are happening. And sometimes it's based on things that are underneath. And there's signals that you have to pull out and go, well, what if these 2 things combined? Or what if these 3 things combined? Kind of like when I had that prediction about autonomous tiny homes being where people wanted to live. We take these tools and we use them to generate a scenario of the future, or a number of scenarios of the future, because we can't really tell until we get super amazing AIs that can run a million simulations of how the future is going to be, kind of like Dr. Strange did in the Avengers, and run those millions and millions of simulations at the same time to figure out what the best path forward is. Until we have that kind of technology, then we just have to build the scenarios that we think are the most plausible. And then we take those scenarios that are most plausible and we apply them. We apply them to strategic planning. And one of the things that we understand is that there's a certain amount of chaos in every system. And if you think about it, there's a certain amount of chaos in everything. In fact, when it comes to humanity, we kind of layer our order over top of the chaos, but underneath it all, there's bubbling chaos that we have no idea what's going to happen. We could have a black swan one day and bam, everything could change. So this is how we look at things. We look at things in a way that when you make a decision, or when you make a decision based on any of the scenarios that we've generated, because any of the scenarios could be true, any of the scenarios could be false, and at a percentage. So they're not 100% true, 100% false. It could be true or false in certain percentages. Whenever you make a decision based on these mappings, these future mappings of where we think things are going to go, we favor that the decisions that you're going to make should be reversible. Don't make irreversible decisions. And the reason why you don't make irreversible decisions is that because of that bubbling chaos underneath, which may explode at any time. At any time. When you make irreversible decisions, you're not taking into account the chaos of the universe, because the universe is chaotic. It may look orderly on top. So, you might be in a city right now and it looks pretty orderly, and you have roads and you have bridges and everything looks okay. And then suddenly there's an earthquake and everything that you knew is gone. Or there's storms, or there's political unrest. All of these things could change in an instant. Things you could never have even planned for have occurred, and they have occurred. If you look at the last, who knows how number of years, many things have occurred that have just been complete surprises, complete black swans. Nobody could ever have thought that these things could have occurred. They were out of human imagining, or at least general human imagining for most people. So when you make a decision, if you think that the world is going to stay exactly the way it is, then you're probably wrong. You're probably wrong because everything has changed. Life is changed. When things change so much, it's very difficult to make decisions that are irreversible. Because if you make irreversible decisions, then the decision that you've made may be the wrong one 5 minutes after you make it. So I know in some cases you do have to make irreversible decisions. Some cases you have to make irreversible decisions. But you have to think to yourself, what can I do? Is this decision reversible? Can I do something else? Like, for example, let's say you want to invest a certain amount of money in something based on the fact that, you know, let's say you're building a startup based on an API from some big service. Say you're building a Facebook, something that depends on Facebook API. And Facebook API, this has been available to you forever. So you figure, I can build a business on this Facebook API. You'd sink $1 million into the business, you build the business, you put it out there, and then all of a sudden Facebook changes its API and bam, you are out of business. Just like that. Irreversible decision making. Chaos. Things change all the time. So we favor reversible decisions. If you can make a reversible decision, if you can somehow not spend $1 million, spend a fraction of that. Don't take as much of a risk. Don't spend it all. Get some proof out of it first. Make sure that you've got more than one place to go. Maybe there's a Facebook API, maybe there's a Google API, maybe there's a number of APIs you can connect with. Spread your risk. That's why I say is that it's incredibly difficult to understand where the future is going to go. But when you're making decisions, favor the reversible ones, because irreversible decisions may be completely wrong moments after you make them. That's it for me for today. See you next time, and until then, don't forget to think future.